Okay, good morning. Wait. Okay. Good morning. I only have 15 minutes to record this lesson. As you can see, I am sick, and I've been sick, and I was sick yesterday, and I'm sick today, so I hope you guys can hear me. So without further ado, I only have 15 minutes, so let's go ahead and begin. Okay. Alright, good morning. Today is this. Okay. Let's see if this is going to work. I know we're not virtual, but let's try to be mindful of our virtual expectations. Even though we're not in class, you still should be paying attention to this lesson because this is a new topic, and I did not want us to waste time because I'm sick. Alright, we've been discussing heredity and adaptation in school, and for the last couple of days as an introduction period. So now we're going to move further. We are going to differentiate between the terms related and descendant. We're going to acknowledge characteristics that make an organism directly related or an ancestor of that organism. And when we move further into the lesson, we're going to identify, let me take my glasses off. We're going to identify and define what a cladogram is. Don't worry about it. We are not going to discuss the terms today, but that's what we're moving forward to do. Alright. So before we get started, I need you all to go to your Google Classroom and fill out the first part of your Do Now. What do you think these terms mean? What terms am I talking about? Well, go to your Do Now, pause the video, go to your Do Now, and then come back after you finish. And make sure you're writing only your thoughts. Do not Google. Do not look it up. Don't ask anyone. Write only your thoughts because we're going to compare the real definition to the actual definition. What you think to the actual definition. So go and complete the Do Now on the Google Classroom under our lesson for today and hit play when you come back. You can pause it now. Shoot. Before you pause, this is the part that you're supposed to do, or that you should have done if you paused before I said something. So you should have filled out what you thought common ancestor, most recent common ancestor, related, and descendant meant to you. Alright, our focus question is how can a model help us understand the relationships among organisms? Okay, so that's our focus question. Feel free to pause the video and add this to your virtual journal. Okay, so let's take a look. Let me move my picture out the way. I'm going to move it to, let's go to the bottom. Okay, so let's take a look at these two zebras. Well, these two animals. One is a zebra, one is a horse. What do you think a zebra and a horse have in common? Think about that. If we were in class and was doing a nearby, this would be a question. So go ahead and write somewhere. What do you think a zebra and a horse have in common? Okay, these two animals may be what you think related. Okay, so related means that they belong to the same group or family. Alright, so they may be related, which is why they have similar characteristics. But on the same token, they're not similar at all. And that is what we're going to explore today. Okay. So let's explain it. Let's go a little bit deeper, just a tad bit deeper. We are going to decode a sample family tree. We are going to discuss the family features of a person named Alan. Okay, when we discuss Alan's family features, we're going to decode them and be very specific about exactly what we see. Okay. So let me go ahead and open his so here is a model of Alan's family tree. Okay. Take a look at this. Okay. If you look at this, you notice a couple of things. Let's look at what we physically notice. We physically notice that, let me see if I can make this bigger. Okay, yes. We physically notice some ovals, some lines, some names, and their position in the family. Okay? And as we notice this, let's go ahead and decode this. And we know this from using the term family tree. Now, I know you're like, okay, we understand what a family tree is. We probably had to do it in kindergarten. But we are going to look at family tree at a different perspective, okay, today. So, mainly, how many brothers does Alan have? This is Alan. He's in red. How many brothers does Alan have? Well, if we're looking, Alan has two brothers. Okay. How do you know that they are brothers? Because they are all connected to the same mom. All right. Simply put, let's go just a little bit deeper. How many children does Rose have? Well, Rose is Alan's grandmother. And it looks like Rose have two children, Hy and Libby. How do we know? Because they are directly connected to Rose. Okay. How many children does Rose have? How do you know? Because it's directly connected. How many children does Libby have? Well, Libby is the mom. Libby have 1, 2, 3 children. Okay. She has 3 children. Who are cousins? Who are cousins? Cousins are children of a parent's sibling, okay? Who are the cousins to Alan? Well, the cousins to Alan would be Beth and David, because Alan's uncle had these 2 children. Now, you're probably like, Miss D or Miss Stewart, I already get all that. What does that mean? Well, as we move forward, we're going to discuss relationships. The last relationship we're going to talk about is how many cousins does Joe have? Okay, Joe is the niece of Alan. But how many cousins does Joe have? Well, because Richard and Alan do not have any children, Joe does not have any cousins. Okay, so pause this video now and go back to your Google Classroom and complete task 1. Task 1. Go back to Google Classroom and complete task 1. And when you come back, you can come back and we will continue the lesson. Okay, welcome back. So you've identified some limitations of this model. The family tree can show us the relation between family members. However, there are some questions that can't be answered using this model. And that can only be answered for some analysis, okay? Like, we don't know anything about the hair color of each human. We don't know if somebody has the same eyes as Grandma Rose. We don't know if Richard is taller than Alan because he looks like his father. We don't even know who their father is because it just says the mom is connected to Alan, Richard, and Dan. So this family tree is very limited to some information that we need. Now we're going to talk about the differences between a common ancestor and a most recent common ancestor, which is two definitions that you were supposed to talk about this morning and you're due now. A common ancestor is a person from the past that is related to all people or organisms in the family group. So that's like a great grandfather. Okay? And everyone stemmed down from there. But the most recent common ancestor would be like, for you and your cousin, it would be like a grandparent, okay? So, and for you and your brother or sister, that would be your parent, all right? So, who are the common ancestors of Richard and Joe? Well, here's Richard, here's Joe. The common ancestor of Richard and Joe would be Libby, okay? Who is the most recent common ancestor of will be Libby and Rose. Sorry. The most recent common ancestor between Richard and Joe will be just Libby. All right. Who is the most recent ancestor of Dan and Hyde? Dan and Hyde. The most recent ancestor would be Rose. Okay. Who is the most recent common ancestor of Becca and David? Becca and David. It will also be Rose, okay? Because they're not directly related to them. They're not the most recent. I mean, they're not the common ancestor, okay? I think I just confused myself. Please forgive me. But yes, they're not the most. They're the most recent common ancestor, but they're not a common ancestor. Okay, so now our third assignment that is in your Google Classroom. You should be walking through this document with me, but if not, you can always pause, go, and come back. So we're going to quickly analyze the differences between the limitations and the strengths of Alan's family tree. Okay, and I forgot to mention that the name in the relation is our key. Okay, so let's start with the circles. What do the circles represent? Well, the circles represent in the real world individual people. Okay. What strength does this give us? It gives us the name of the people. It gives us the relationship to Alan. And it gives us the member of a family. Okay. So from the circles, we already know the name, the relationship, and the member. But this is what we do not know. It doesn't tell us anything about the person. Okay. And also the circle is not an organism. Okay? The circle is not an organism. So let's go ahead and review the next one. So we don't even know what type of person this is. We don't know if this is a Caucasian. We don't know if this is African American or Hispanic or anything. We don't know. So let's move on. What does the lines in the document, in the family tree represent? Well, the lines represents the parent and or the offspring relationship. Okay, so we know that Beth is a cousin, Hi is the uncle. We're not talking about those lines. Those lines go along with our key. We're talking about these lines, okay? From Rose to Hyde to Beth. From Hyde to David. from Libby to Island, from Rose to Libby to Island. Okay, so it talks about the relationship. What is good if the camera stops